What would you do if you had to write this film?
I would go back to revise what I've already done and potentially apply logic to reduce answers, even in those questions and themes that I'm not familiar with.
CSAT has been an issue, or it has always worked out for you?
No, CSAT has not been an issue. I have always done reasonably well. 10 questions minimum 10 questions per day, or you do not sleep.
How many full papers?
So full papers were every week we would attempt 2, and there were always 2 rounds of revisions right before the mains.
Was solutions of these tests your primary source of revision?
No, sir. It was I would refer to my own answer copy and slight value additions and corrections that I made in my own answer copy, and that was my source of revision.
Hello friends, we have with us Rangamanju, who has secured rank 24. This was his 6th attempt. He has Anthropology as his optional, and he has appeared for mains twice in 2022 and 2023, and this was the 2024 with 24th rank. I think that's a good rhyming thing for you, right? And welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm happy to be here.
If you want to introduce yourself, if I have missed anything, what would you say?
I'm Dr. Rangamanju. I graduated in 2019 with a medical degree from Bangalore Medical College. I've been doing this for a while. I had no success in the first 3 attempts in 19, 20, and 21. So that's about it, sir.
You were practicing also parallelly, I believe.
Yes, sir. There was an element, especially during the COVID period. But in this year, the successful year, I've had no practice in the last 1 year.
So this year you exclusively prepared. Last attempts you worked.
Went all in.
Did that help? Exclusively preparing?
I think the results show for it, sir. But I would like to.
And Anthropology is the favorite choice of all the doctors, I believe.
I believe so, sir. In fact, my friend, Dr. Sachin BG, he's also secured rank 41. Yes. Also an Anthro student. And a batchmate of mine, although not in the same college. I think there's overlap that allows us to pick the subject.
And I think both of you have another thing in common. Both of you have AI in medical sciences certificate program, right? You remember that one, right? I think
yes, sir. Yes.
You got questions in the interview also from that.
Oh, absolutely. We both had, I think, at least 2 questions each, and it was a conversation starter.
So, did having specific hobbies help?
I think so. Absolutely. I say that I had at least 4 such mentions directly from my DAF, and they were long conversations. There was not a stop short, single question answer and move on. So I think having very specific hobbies helps.
Okay, so let's structure this interview now. Let's go from each phase of the examination. Let's start with prelims. I'll probably say that we are almost 30 days away from the next prelims. What would you do if you had to write this prelims?
So if I had to give this prelims again, I know that given the amount of time that I've already spent, I'll only situate it in my context. I have what it takes in terms of the basics. It's already covered. And even in the PYQs, you'll always have newer areas emerging, even in subjects like history and geography, etc. So I wouldn't chase those particular topics per se. I would go back to revise what I've already done and potentially apply logic to deduce answers, even in those questions and themes that I'm not familiar with on the final day. This is my approach. Because I genuinely believe that not more than 35 to 40 questions will be known by any single successful aspirant in the prelims like examination. And I think 60 questions divided into moderate and hard, one must apply themselves and use all possible permutation combinations to arrive at a logical answer rather than expect to know the precise answer or the precise context in which UPSC has asked it. I don't think it's required. And in this process, at least in my case, what I believe in my last attempt, I attempted 100 questions. All 100.
All 100.
Absolutely, sir. And
how much were you getting?
I was getting between 110 to 135, depending on different various answer keys. And I can assure you, out of these 100 questions, there was one question where I had absolutely no idea how to approach it, which was the question on the defense ranking. I had zero knowledge on it, but I still went in with it, trying to deduce.
Did you get it correct?
No, sir. But I would attempt that question again and probably mark the very same option again if I had to.
Do you always attempt 100 questions?
No, but I always attempt more than 95 questions, and that is what I would recommend. Risk taking is integral, especially if you are in the non-reserved category. The stakes are high, and luck must help you out. Unfortunately, if you are risk averse, I don't think uh, chances of success are as high. Of course, this is my strategy. I think others will beg to disagree.
CSAT has been an issue, or it has always worked out for you?
No, CSAT has not been an issue. I have always done reasonably well.
Not even 23.
Sorry, sir?
Not even in 2023?
In 2023, I think I can share my answer script. I got 100. So I think I'm comfortably ahead of the...
Right, right. So the other 2 years also you scored 100 in prelims?
I think it was 100. Yes. In the other 2 years as well, 100, 110 plus. I always breach the IFOS cutoff, but doctors are not eligible to give the IFOS exam.
So you always have a 2 weeks advantage in terms of calculating the cutoff.
And I would recommend that to everyone. In fact, this year I gave, even under your guidance, I came to mains in Delhi. I could immediately leave the very next day from Bangalore to head to Delhi.
Because and that 2 weeks is important. That 2 weeks makes a lot of difference.
And in this year, there's hardly 85 days or so.
89 days, I think, 89.
Right. And they must make use of those 2 weeks. You can't let them waste away.
Would you anticipate any themes from which questions could come this year?
Absolutely not, sir. Not in the game of, not in that.
But there are intuition, because I think many successful candidates believe and, are able to anticipate themes. Especially mains, I believe that's a very strong thing. Like,
absolutely. I believe that to be true in mains, but prelims is so dicey. I would not want to be surprised. So the only way I'm not surprised is not to prepare for it in a very specific way and expect it to go on a certain direction. Right. I'm prepared for anything. So it's an open challenge. I want to be to do my best within that challenge.
I always tell people that, your personality starts getting tested from prelims itself. Your ability to make decisions, your ability to, think on your foot.
Right,
so it's an all-round personality test.
Oh, absolutely. I would agree with that.
Because I've always heard many people say that, the first 5 questions were difficult. Then I even made mistakes of questions which otherwise I would have gotten right. Because you start panicking and you start getting anxiety attacks and, it's so much pressure.
I agree, sir. In fact, especially true of mains examination, it's they test the adversity quotient more. I don't think anyone can finish all 20 questions perfectly in 3 hours. So
impossible.
It's more to do with how they can handle the stress.
I went back to your answers yesterday. Right. I was noticing that at least there were 3-4 questions which were very rushed. Like,
absolutely.
You had to write that.
Yes.
And I keep telling people that, maybe those 3-4 questions will get some, maybe half a mark, 1 mark, 2 marks. And that makes a lot of difference.
Correct. Right.
So in 2023, 22, you had almost 375 in GS.
Right.
2023, you had 400.
Yes,
and I think your rank this year, maybe you would have made another 25 marks improvement.
Possibly, sir. Very
possibly,
right.
Because I think it should add up, right?
Right.
So how did you change your strategy from 22 to 23 to 24?
I had no answer writing practice in 22. That changed in 23, and that quite expanded drastically in 24. A lot of answer writing practice went in.
How many answers?
10 questions minimum 10 questions per day, or you do not sleep.
How many full papers?
So full papers were every week we would attempt 2, and there were always 2 rounds of revisions right before the mains leg of the examination. So perhaps roughly 20, but I don't have an exact figure on that yet.
So that puts it around what, 90, 100 questions a week?
No, absolutely, yes.
Right, and I think we had almost 8 to 10 weeks.
Yes. So you could say 1,000.
1,000 questions between prelims and
possibly.
Was solutions of these tests your primary source of revision?
No, sir. It was. I would refer to my own answer copy and slight value additions and corrections that I made in my own answer copy. And that were my source of revision. I would not go back to the... it's quite bulky occasionally and not always reasonable to cover very quickly. So I think what I have already written, I will remember well. And in that sense, that was my source for revision.
Did you have any pre-test exercise? Like just before you start, how did you approach the paper? Did you read the whole paper? How did you sequence your attempt in terms of the paper?
So my priority was clear. The questions I know well, I will attempt at the start, which would mean that maybe I skip question number 5 or 6. But should I even not know 1 and 2, these are critical questions. I will still attempt them at the very start because I know that the evaluation possibly starts from the start.
It's a first impression.
It's a first impression. So there will be rushed questions that will be coming in maybe in question number 7, 13, 17, which I do not know much about anyway. But I am happy to get 30% of the marks in those questions as long as I'm getting 50% of the marks in the questions that I know. Well, and with this,
so 10 markers first and then 15 markers, or
I would do the 10 first and then 15 markers.
15 markers, right?
And test strategy, I would say that the 5 minutes that you are given occasionally by UPSC, I would use it to read the questions sequentially and see which of them I know best, tick mark them so that I know which ones to avoid when I'm trying to skip them. And circle those operative words that I have to cover in the question, because I'm scared I may skip them later on.
Right. So you underline in the question or circle in the question paper that what are the parts, what are the keywords that you should address.
I actually structure it immediately. I write 1, 1A, 1B, 2, 2A, 2B, depending on how many headings I have within the question.
And I think reading the whole paper, I think maybe subconsciously your mind is working towards connecting those,
possibly.
Back, probably. Right. And I think writing the good answers first make sure that your good handwriting goes to the good answers and your bad handwriting goes to the bad answers, because in the end you're in a rush. Right. That would also help. Right.
Pareto efficiency on display.
Right. And let's say, what was your approach to introduction? How would you write introductions?
My introductions in this exam were a mix. I think 50% of them were pre-generated based on so many of these questions that I've attempted, like approximately 10 questions per day. So I have a certain design in terms of certain questions. For instance, if I get a question on woman and it's in the deprived sense, I always bring out the Devi Dasi dichotomy. That's my go-to introduction. Or and end with Nari Shakti. Like I have a set notion with some certain themes, but to all of those other questions, and we had quite a few outlier questions this year, I would just wing it. I would freestyle my introduction, not being particularly concerned with what I'm writing, as long as I can situate it in a context, and current affairs is the context for me.
How much of definitions? How many questions do you give definitions also in introduction?
I am not a votary for giving definitions. I want my paper to stand apart. I think the papers before me will have defined it. I assume the evaluator will know the definition by now, so I will directly go to something else I can add.
What about ethics? In ethics?
Ethics, I do define, sir. Especially in this year's paper, there was scope for trying to make sense of the question first for myself, which is my introduction, and thereafter address the theme.
Okay. So now, what do you call body more of arguments or more of value addition, or balance of both?
I would have more arguments and examples wherever I can quote. And if I may add, even in ethics paper this time, out of I think there are 16 questions. No, I think 13
19
questions. 19 questions. I had diagrams for at least 10 questions. So even including in the case studies section, I did incorporate.
I think, if I'm not wrong, I think you pre-prepared diagrams for themes and keywords, right?
Completely.
And I think that's something that has worked.
Possibly, so very likely. I still await my mark sheet. So if I've gotten a low score, it's not on account of including diagrams. It's probably because I didn't address the questions demand.
I think a trend that has continued from last year to this year is that I think the use of schematics and diagrams have increased, or it's good. Like I think even in top 10, I'm seeing a lot of people who have expressed content in a schematic format. That is also there. Maybe it's easier to consume. It's easier to check. It's easier to read.
Right.
And when you're probably reading the same content and again, you don't have the patience to read the whole thing. You just want to see limited things, right?
Right.
And what about what do you call the type of value addition? Like, was it niche? What was it? Generic?
So I actually relied on toppers value addition of the past. I did not make any myself. For instance, Ian Jain, I believe, I had his value addition with me. Shruti Sharma, so many other toppers in the past. All of their material served as value addition for me. I did not chase it myself in the internet or in newspapers.
Okay, so you scavenged from their notes or from their answer sheets?
Both, sir. A mix of both.
So how much of PYQs did you solve?
I still have all the books for the last 6 years. PYQs, all of them written, each and every question. So I think that's the very basis on which your answer writing should rest.
So after a test is written, what is your post-test exercise? How does that look like?
So I do not immediately touch that test. I give it a good 3 days so that I can have a relook at it in a different lens. And post that, I see the question and I generate an answer again to see if I could have improved on it. And then I do a Google search and I see what else can be improved. AI obviously is very helpful right now, and I would advise everyone to make use of.
Did you use?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay. And did you prioritize your good arguments first, or it was just free flowing?
I have a free flowing tendency in my answer copies, quite visibly so. So there's no prioritization per se.
But many themes would have repeated from what you had prepared.
Right. So I think at least maybe 50% of the paper is repeated themes itself. So knowing the themes in advance will help.
So when you are writing an answer on a theme that you already know, does it help? How does it help?
Oh, I can actually recall one specific example. I don't know which PYQ it is that was reflected again. I think it was about how the land reconsolidation in certain parts of the country work better. The land reforms in certain part of the country. This was a PYQ, out and out.
Right.
And I think this was a GS3 paper, I'm not sure. And I rewrote the same answer that I wrote in the PYQ. So maybe what I would have taken me 7 minutes on an average answer, probably reduce it to 5 minutes 30 seconds here, because I'm just rewriting. I'm not thinking on the go.
So you're that the process of interpreting the question and writing, maybe you save a minute or two there.
Absolutely, sir.
Right. Okay. So now going from there, essay. I think someone who writes poems and sonnets. How did that go?
So I had a poem to start and conclude my essay.
Okay.
I was just trying to distinguish.
I'm curious to see your marks for essay. I think either it would have done really well or it would have tanked. Right.
So I'm also very curious, sir. And besides that, the only change I made is not to have too many headings in the essays this time. I allowed the essay to be uninterrupted, potentially to.
You had headings, or you did not have headings?
Did not have headings. Maybe there's more flow in the essay on account of it.
So was it a dimension-oriented approach, or what was it? How did you go about?
Sir, my approach to essay writing is usually I do not have anything well structured, well ahead of time. I go with the flow. I've been writing for a very long time. I've been interested in.
That's a strong forte for you.
Yes, not that UPSC agrees with me, but I would like to think.
What was the score in last 2 years essay?
It was 115 and 115 approximately. So
it's not a bad score. It's not a
bad
score,
but not a good score either.
Right. I think the average of essay in the last year among the top 100 was 121.
Right, sir. Right.
So I'm assuming you would have improved by at least 10. We haven't seen the marks yet, but let's hope it's improved.
Perhaps, sir. Perhaps.
What topics did you choose this year? You remember?
I think the first one was forests precede civilization and deserts follow.
Right.
And the second one was I'm not able to recall, sir. I think
you remember the poem? You remember the poem you wrote?
No, I was generated on the spot.
On the spot. Okay. And anthropology.
Right,
what was the different strategy this year?
I would say that I've relied on no tutorials till now, but this was the first year that I sought help, a certain mentor in a different institute. Right. I would say a guiding hand this year. I realigned my thought processes for anthropology. And again, if I were to just break it down, it's more answer writing in anthropology with the mentor's guidance that probably helped me. I'm yet to see my anthro marks. It appears that I may be among the toppers in anthropology this year. I don't think there are too many in anthro in the top 100. So I'll be surprised to find my name among the highest. Anthropology is not my strong suit. I'll openly admit.
I think so far one key takeaway is that write as many answers as you can.
As you humanly can, as much as your hand allows you. And I don't know, I was upon your recommendation. Every Sunday we set aside to just answer full length.
I believe you should have a test day.
Yes.
Because the day you write a test, you can't do anything else.
So in fact, I'll tell you something that you suggested. You suggested that we write one optional paper and one GS paper. Right. So what me and Sachin did was, because we were aspiring to be the greatest, we added another essay paper to it. So what would have been
3 a day?
3 a day.
Right? No. But what I'm saying is that this is not new. I think last year I had someone in the top 100 rank who said the same thing.
Right.
And he said, I wrote 3 tests so that 2 became easy.
Fair.
Maybe that's the logic. It's like athletes running with weight.
Paper completion becomes easier.
Right. I know athletes who put weights on their ankle and run. No, like on the day
Yeah,
of
right,
they
right.
remove it, so then they run faster. Right. So something
I
on those lines.
friend who tried it with his hands this time.
So how bad was writing 3 tests a day? How exhausting it is?
Extremely exhausting, but I would argue that writing one test a day and writing 3 tests a day would render the day redundant or rather non-useful anyway. After you write a test,
Anyway, you
exhausted.
write a test, it's gone. That day is
Gone.
gone.
Might as
Right.
well write three and fully
Yeah.
exhaust yourself in the process. Either way, Monday starts and you're back on the treadmill.
But I think it was early paper also. Probably it
It was
was
early
something that
paper.
you
It was an early
wrote in
paper.
June also.
But
No,
then,
I see substantial transformation in the way people write in June versus
oh
in
yes,
mains.
right.
That could also be the fact, right?
You keep value adding.
Maybe that 49.5 pushed you, like irritated you.
It was an
Right?
insult. It was a slap in my face. How dare they?
So let's look at it in a positive light now.
Right,
Like we
absolutely,
insulted you to improve, right?
right,
That's another way to look at, right? No, I remember two things about you. I remember you
right.
had a hairband, like right? And you used to have all these weird ideas, like like different approaches in terms of how to write answers.
Right,
And we have had long debates, and you and Sachin used to come together, right?
right,
And
right,
we have had long conversations on this.
right, sir. Right.
I think you have brought our papers, other papers. We've looked at a lot of papers in that sense, right?
Yes, sir. Right.
But now it's over, right? It's good, right? It's
Oh, relief, relief, relief. I
how
don't.
was how was essay support? Did you write essays with us?
So I did seek counsel from a faculty member in next IAS, although I didn't subscribe to your course. And
Okay,
ma'am was very helpful. Shabeen ma'am, I believe her name is. Uh,
Shamna.
Shabna ma'am, sorry.
Right.
Uh, very, very helpful. I spent about 2.5 hours,
Right,
2 weeks before our essay paper,
right.
discussing it at length, just mixing it and saying. I in fact I worked on one of the things that she said. She said that in my essay I always have this one paragraph. It says this is it is my intent to explore these dimensions in my essay, etc., etc. And she
Right.
said, with your writing style, this seems like a trope. You should dismiss it. I carried that forward to the final.
Because I think that's for engineers who don't know how to write. Right. Because they need a structured essay, which they need a format to write, right?
I really hope you edit this out because a lot
Right.
of
No,
areas will
no.
be-
See, I think a few years back, Anudeep had given a guide on how to write essays for engineers. And
Okay,
he had a very mechanical approach. Like,
okay,
we understand we are not good at writing essays. We are engineers,
okay,
right?
all right,
Our strength is data, facts,
all right,
analytical thinking, not writing skills.
right, right.
Writing skill is more of a social science skill, right? It's more
Fair,
of a
fair.
right.
It's
So
a
he
hobby.
had this idea that okay, you have a intro, you have a
Right,
connecting paragraph to the body, and
right,
that's where in this essay we will do this.
right, 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 right,
Then the Spellitz approach, Pestel approach,
right,
and
right.
then a pre-conclusion paragraph, then a conclusion. So it was very structured in that sense,
Fair,
and
fair.
uh, and I call it an engineer's essay, right? Because it's
Right,
an engineer's structured thought process, right?
fair, fair, fair. Right,
But let's see how it has worked, right?
right,
You're not the first person from your family in service, no? Your
right,
father was
right.
also in service.
My father was actually, I believe, it was a 1989 batch UPSC CSE. He got the IRS rank back then,
Okay.
General Merit. But he quit the services and then he entered the as a DYSP under the state services. And thereafter, he was elevated to IPS in 2006, I believe, his batches. And he passed away while in service.
Okay. I'm sure he'll be looking down and happy that you've
I
done
will
this.
say without any exception, unequivocally, there's a lot of fortune involved in getting, I think, an IAS rank for
Right.
in the UPSC CSE. So I am fortunate. I have no doubt that I've been blessed.
Did you meet your father's colleagues and all?
Oh, fair few of them, and I still have a lot more to meet.
Right. But I'm sure they would be more happy to see you do this
Absolutely, absolutely,
because in the end it's a dedication to your parents, the effort that you put in. Right.
absolutely. I owe a great deal to my mother as well in this respect.
How was the interview preparation? How many mocks?
So the date the interview schedule was announced was the 21st of December, I believe, and my
Okay.
interview was scheduled for the 14th of January
You had it, and Sachin had it at the fag end.
at the fag end. So
Right.
Till now, we were just one, and then we had a sudden break in our preparatory process because I had to hurry it up. But despite this, I landed in Delhi somewhere around the 2nd or 3rd of January, and I attended, let's say, about 12 plus mocks, panel mocks.
In that window.
No,
That's
only
a very short
between
window.
2nd and 7th. I didn't even extend it from 7th onwards.
Okay, between 2nd and 7th, you did 12 mocks.
Three mocks a day. I thought that I should collect questions, I should interact with panel persons and just find out what they think are deficits in my performance or what they think are my strengths so that I can value add, etc. So I believe in mock taking at least somewhere around 10 plus to be a good exercise.
From the perspective of generating questions and not feedback.
Yes, not necessarily feedback, because I think some of them can be quite critical. They could affect your confidence. But right. All the praise, take it. The feedback, selective in how you take it.
But I think the maybe the members in a particular age group and professional background would probably look at the same keywords with a similar eye.
Possibly.
Maybe that would help. Did it repeat? Did questions repeat from mocks to the?
Yes, sir. Yes. Quite a few of them repeated. But there were also areas that I couldn't anticipate because Shakespearean recitals was one of my other such hobbies and award achievement section, whatever.
I remember a question from a transcript where it said that, okay, we are not playing Pakistan in cricket. Now, Afghanistan does not have a women's team. Should we play Afghanistan also? So I think the kind of questions that I saw this year was unique, different in that sense.
Right.
I think somebody was asked if you were to make a cricket team of all your favorite anthropologists or sociologists, what would it look like?
That's amazing.
That's an amazing question. This was also going around that, okay, you're from Haryana, make a team of all the former and present members of Haryana, a cricket team. Not easy to think.
You to think on the spot, sir.
Right.
The very first question I asked, I think this was to unsettle me by my president of the board, was, what is Rajosaurus narmadensis? And for the life of me, I'd never heard this word before. I asked sir for clarity. He repeated it, and I said, sir, I have no idea.
Can you repeat the question? I didn't get the question. What is
Rajosaurus narmadensis. He said, what is this?
Haven't heard.
He said, you're a student of anthropology, you should know. And I was in a tough spot. I said, I'm sorry, sir, I'm not aware. He said, but you must take a guess. And I guess, sir, it is possibly a specimen from the Narmada belt. And sir said, yes, go on. And then I said, because I'm an anthropology student, so perhaps it's an Australopithecine precursor excavated from there. I was making a logical deduction. Sir's eyes widened. He said, no, break down the word. He said, Raj, kingly species, saurus, lizard. It is a dinosaur species excavated from the Narmada belt. I felt like I was being chided. I felt like he told me, how are you not applying your brain? But despite that, I'm hoping I was awarded a decent score. Just to say that sometimes one question does not determine it. Even in fact, this question was the only question the president of my board asked. And it was passed on to the members. I think a single question does not determine your fate in UPSC interview.
The standard doctor question came. As a doctor, why are you doing this?
No, in fact, it wasn't asked. I think they were tired of hearing it from all the aspirants prior to.
Because I think that's a standard doctor question that they always ask. What are you doing here?
Right, sir.
Okay, so I remember before 1 or 2 days before the result, I think we spoke or we chatted or something. I think one of the things that I vividly remember is that this is my last attempt.
It was the first time I was telling you that.
Right. So because that is not easy. The last attempt is all bets off.
Right.
How did you deal with that anxiety?
So this was a dream, sir. I wanted to see it through to the end. I thought to myself, I've given 5 attempts. Yes, I've been unsuccessful. So what is the worst thing that could happen? Another unsuccessful attempt. It is fine. I want to push through, give it my all, so that I can nourish a dream. I can fulfill a dream. And that was it, sir. I just went through with it. I had a lot of anxiety, but maybe the poetry writing in between, talking to Sachin, etc. My friend, great company, and the motivation I received from them, they were all contributors to keeping it.
So I think another 5-6 months before the FC starts?
It's on August 25th, so 3.5 months or so, sir.
3.5 months. Okay. What's the plan? Travel?
Absolutely nothing. Yeah, I will have a lot of traveling in between, but right now I have to go and thank the gods who have clearly bestowed upon me a great rank, and then thank all of my father's colleagues and many other mentors who have helped me and guided me in this process. And after that, perhaps just lay back and relax.
Right. Still reading Hindu and Indian Express?
No.
I think it's time to unsubscribe. Right. And I always imagine that, how many people would read after their preparation Hindu and Indian Express, right? That's
I'll get back to it. So once hopefully service starts.
Right. Hopefully.
Right, sir.
Anyway, thank you so much. I really had fun in this conversation. It was a great
Thank you so much.
speaking to you.
Thank you for having
me. And all the best for all the future endeavors. Right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.